on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is a really extended edition of WWE Last Week, your weekly look back at the week that was in the WWE. And how the fuck do I encapsulate the past 10 days or so? WrestleMania happened. Stand and Deliver happened. The Raw after WrestleMania happened. The SmackDown after WrestleMania happened. There's a draft coming. Close the door. That's the joke that everybody uses, and I hate it, but whatever. So I'm just going to go quick bullet points, and I'm going to give you stuff that I have thoughts on that people already haven't talked to death. How's that for a fair thing? Oh my god. Very tired. It's a good thing I have a day off today. Went out late to a Destiny show last night. Shout out to Destiny. Really wicked show. The Clash was awesome. In Toronto, main evented by Kenta versus Santana versus Trent Seven. Trent Seven maintaining his Destiny Check It Off Your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine World Championship. And also 3 of our favorites, Alexia Nicole, Von Vertigo, and Gabriel Fuerza, took on Subculture from TNA and won in probably the most fun match I've seen this year. And this is 1 week on from WrestleMania. So big shout out to Destiny. They put on a hell of a show. Anybody that's even close to the GTA area, yes, that means Greater Toronto area because I'm special, check out Destiny. You won't be disappointed. But getting back to last weekend, we did Stand and Deliver. I already did a mini review of that while I was getting ready to watch WrestleMania, and it was kind of short and it was kind of shit. So if you listened to that and you thought it was kind of shit, I agree with you. But Gacy beat Shawn Spears in the kickoff. Wolf Dogs surprisingly defeated Axiom and Frazier, but we'll talk about that more later on in a hell of a match. Gonna try and get my way around this. Wolf Dogs probably the last major pay-per-view for NXT, so they got to go out on top, which is kind of nice. Obafemi kind of destroyed Dijak and Josh Briggs in a hell of a big man match. The triple stack Death Valley driver, I guess I'll call it, from Obafemi was absolutely terrifying. The babyfaces won the 6-woman tag. Ilya defeated Tony D. I guess I should say as well, I think it's his sort of last big pay-per-view. And Trick defeated Mello to set up what I assume will be at least one of their exits from NXT. Not bad. Not a bad show. Not a bad way to kick off WrestleMania weekend. And yes, I know the kickoff is really WrestleMania, SmackDown, and the Hall of Fame. Still haven't had a chance to watch the Hall of Fame because I've got a lot on my plate right now. But kicking off into night 1 of WrestleMania, Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. This was a lot of fun. Rhea Ripley got her entrance with Motionless in White, which is really cool. Motionless in White, not a band that I'm particularly familiar with, but apparently a favorite band of hers, and big huge thing for her. What we didn't know, and they made a point of mentioning it on commentary, I think it's really cool because it gives Becky Lynch the credit that she deserves. Apparently she was running 105 temperature and she'd been dealing with strep throat all weekend, which is awful. And further on you read that about an hour before the show, this is Rhea's own words, that she was getting ready for the show and she was experiencing panic attacks in the backstage area. Apparently Jason Jordan and a couple of other people were there. Amenities were made available to her. Support was given to her before the show, and then she went out and fucking killed it. So a lot of things working against this match. Rumors are that both Becky and Seth Rollins asked and requested, or however you want to say it, to be the opening matches of their respective WrestleMania nights. Because they had never been in that spot before, but also because they wanted to see the rest of the show. And obviously Seth Rollins was all over the shop all WrestleMania weekend. But you can see where that would kind of be a thing. If you've never, it's kind of funny, if you've been the main event but you've never been the curtain jerker, you kind of want to know what that curtain jerker thing is like. I had Jake DeMarco on here to do a preview with me, and you know, neither, unfortunately, because of the way the two stories played into each other, the tag on night 1 leading into the main event of night 2, neither one of the ladies' matches were gonna main event, which is kind of shit, kind of terrible. But if you're not gonna main event, then be the opening match of night 1. because you do get, because there's nothing, I'm repeating myself, but because there is nothing on the kickoff anymore, I mean, they do some segments and some interviews and some walkthroughs and all that kind of thing, but I don't know how to say this. It's not the last time these people all saw wrestling, but it's been 365 days, theoretically, since the last time any of us have seen a WrestleMania match. So, get that we've waited a year for this pop at the beginning of night one, because nobody else is going to replicate that. Everybody else after that is playing to a crowd that has already seen a 2024 WrestleMania match. So get that first pop if you can. Coming out there, like I said, with the cool entrance with Motionless in White and Becky Lynch coming out doing her thing. I don't know what Becky Lynch is doing with the face paint, the face makeup thing, but it doesn't bother me either. Rhea got the win. Rumor is that Becky and Seth are taking time off, etc. Rhea Ripley still looks like a beast. This is officially a year of this title run now. Rhea Ripley's a fucking star. I don't know what else you want me to say. Then we got the multi-tag ladder match. Oh my god, who all was in this? Everybody was in this. Friggin' DIY was in there, New Catch Republic was in there, Judgment Day was in there, obviously Awesome Truth was in there, Waller and Theory were in there, and there's another team that I haven't written down because I'm a terrible person. Waller and Theory grabbed the SmackDown belts early. This is where all the criticism and the confusion came in. Is are they using this to split the titles? Are they going to put one set of belts up and people are just going to go and get them? No, they had them, not only all 4 belts hung up, but 2 sets of belts hung out in kind of opposite corners of the ring on those new big gold WWE branded carabiners that they have. Waller and Theory grabbed the first one and then ended up taking a huge ass bump out of the ring through a bridge table through a bridge ladder on the outside. And then you got your feel good moment of Awesome Truth winning the Raw tag titles. Waller and Theory on SmackDown are just going to wind everybody up. They didn't even show up on SmackDown this week. They were like, oh my god, I can't be bothered to go to Detroit or wherever it was. We're going to stay here where the weather's nice and chill with our championships. Awesome Truth. I mean, the big point of this was giving a nice WrestleMania moment to R-Truth, who's never won a match at WrestleMania. But like, here's the thing. I know they want to make that into a nice feel-good moment. Oh, he's had all these matches at WrestleMania that he's never won, but like most of his matches at WrestleMania have been like battle royals and stuff. So take a look at all the 20 people that are jammed into a random battle royal. Probably none of them have won at WrestleMania, but I get the point. R-Truth is awesome. R-Truth is way underappreciated. The fans are completely behind him. The little brief stint that he did with the Judgment Day, sort of doing a micro version of what Sami Zayn did with the Bloodline, got the fans even more behind him. We know that he suffered the injury on NXT a while ago. People are happy to see him back from that. Big, huge moment for him. I gotta say, though, I have to say, for me, I'm a Miz guy. I'm not an R-Truth guy. Like, happy for that guy to have his moment, but I'm a Miz guy. And the guy has never gotten his flowers, really. Like, the one time he made it to where I think he belongs, he was overshadowed by John Cena and The Rock. Now, no shame to be outshined by John Cena and The Rock, but the whole time he was there, people were talking about how he didn't belong there. And now he's got to be one of the most underappreciated guys in WWE. Now that we've lost a couple people, Dolph Ziggler is on the top of my list. Nick Nemeth doing awesome things. He's going to be going for the TNA Championship against Moose next week. We'll talk about that later. But I think Miz has sort of taken over that one of the most underrated people in WWE moniker. So I'm really happy to see him have a moment. Happy to see him and Truth get together. I do stick to what I said in the preview, though, and what I said in my worst case scenarios video. I do think that there are people that are going to look at R-Truth and say he's a comedy character. Why are you putting a belt on him? There's people that just like unrealistically hate The Miz. Why are you putting a belt on him? Awesome Truth is kind of a nostalgia act. Why are you putting tag belts on a nostalgia act? I do think that criticism is coming. I haven't seen much of it yet, so we'll go with it. But again, Waller and Theory winding up people on SmackDown. I mean, people are already lining up. We saw this week on SmackDown, you had not only New Catch Republic, but also the Street Profits in Nick Aldis's office. You know, everybody's looking for a shot at them. So they'll be good at getting you behind whoever is coming after them. So I think that's a neat thing. What it is, though, is you've taken both the belts and you've put both the belts on teams that are not heavily featured. Now, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, even though they're not in the main event, are treated like main eventers. Judgment Day is a main event concern. When the Usos had the belts, the Bloodline were a main event concern. They're not on teams right now that are main event concerns. So you have to see what that does to people's interest in the belts. And I think that's a cool challenge. It's a cool challenge for Miz and R-Truth, who've definitely been there, definitely done that, and can do it. But it's also a challenge for a new young team like Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, where people are getting into the Grayson Waller effect. I mean, he was super over in Australia. Obviously, he was super over in Australia. But people seem to dunk on Austin Theory. People seem to dunk on Austin Theory by saying he's the next Randy Orton, like that's a bad thing. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Rey Mysterio and Andrade defeated Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. This is going to be remembered for two things. One is that double stack suicide crossbody to the outside that Rey and Andrade did, and the fact that the match was ultimately decided by two Philadelphia football players coming to the ring in lucha masks and looking like giant luchadors. Apparently one of them is the one that's shagging Taylor Swift, so good for them, I guess. I really wanted this to break down into more of a big, like, LWO versus Legado thing. I get the whole do something for the locals. I get that. I get that people are football fans and I'm not a football fan, so do something for that crowd. I understand that. I'm not against it. I don't think this was the match to do it because you had built-in reason for interference from people in the story. So it made it muddy and it made it a celebrity moment rather than a culmination of a story that's been relatively decently put together. Like, there are other matches, I mean, off the top of my head, something like the US title triple threat that we're going to talk about, where you've got one guy in the match who's already kind of a celebrity. So you could have done that and it would have been fine. I don't know. Rey and Andrade, Santos and Dom, they had a great match. I'm still going to say that this was a really cool platform for Andrade and Santos to show their stuff. Should say, when we were predicting this, it was still Rey and Dragon Lee, and then they made that switch up on SmackDown. Can I say, SmackDown, Stand and Deliver, and Raw, all in the same building, so clearly they're not going to rebuild the sets, but we've gone from the small screen flex to the no screen flex. Let's talk about breaking records in the WWE while other companies are not doing so great, shall we say. Not going to harp on AEW. All the issues surrounding AEW right now will be a pod for another time, hopefully when I've got somebody to bounce off of. But we're not going to spend some time on that tonight, are we? Great match. The babyfaces win with celebrity involvement and all that kind of thing. It is what it is. It's not done. Clearly they're leaning towards a Carlito's going to turn on Rey thing. Carlito will go over to the LWO and replace Dominic Mysterio, who's got to move back to Raw. And then we'll get maybe a 4-on-4, I guess. If we're going to get Santos, Humberto, Angel, and Carlito versus Rey, Del Toro, Wild, and Dragon Lee, that's not a terrible match, I'm not going to lie. Do it in France. Do it in France. France is already starting to look really, really good. Jay versus Jimmy, I'm not going to say much about this. I said it in the preview. I said, even if this match sucks, I'm happy that these guys get to do it because they've been talking in interviews about having a match against each other at WrestleMania for years. We've got the 15-year thing where Owen fought Brett, and then 15 years later, Matt fought Jeff, and then 15 years later, Jay fought Jimmy. They both had really cool entrances. They both looked like they were having a blast. The crowd interaction with Jay right now is off the fucking chart. And people think this match sucked. I don't think it sucked. I think it's the first of many. And I don't know, nobody has been able to accurately tell me what this match wasn't that you thought it was going to be. So I don't know where to go with the criticism. If you just say, man, this sucks, then whatever. Then maybe you're not into the idea of them fighting each other. I don't know. Some people wanted Jay to fight Solo instead. I get that. We're going to get that at some point, I truly believe. The match was fine. Jay got the win. Jay got to, like, hype up the crowd and do the hand thing, which I'm doing right now, which you can't see because this is an audio platform and I'm being a bit strange. Okay. Women's trios match. All right. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi obviously squashed Damage Control because we knew that was going to happen and we knew why that was going to happen. I think it's really shit the way they put this match together. You knew they were going to win, but Damage Control went in there and were absolute punching bags. And this was gross. And I didn't like it at all. Absolutely fucking gross. I still say, if you had separated these two matches out, if Jade Cargill had maybe squashed Dakota Kai, cool, I could have lived with that. Here's our new big star. Give her a big first singles match. She had her first singles match on Raw against Chelsea Green, and it was weird. But do the other two, Bianca Belair and Naomi versus the Kabuki Warriors for the belts. Yes, they would have lost, but at least they would have been acknowledged as champions, and the championships would have been represented. These titles, I gotta say, these titles on the waist of Kairi Sane and Asuka were the only belts not defended at WrestleMania. The only ones. So you've got two very highly regarded current champions from Japan who have ridiculous followings, both of them. Kairi, who just came back. Asuka, who people have been scrounging for her to get the respect that she deserves. And you've got Dakota Kai, who got injured, who has busted her ass to get back in time to get cleared for WrestleMania, for this story, for the Bayley story, and you wipe them all off the face of the planet. And we all know why. There's the big reason, which I'm not going to say because it'll get me kicked off YouTube. But there's also WWE just being scared of, she should have stayed in TNA. She should have stayed in AEW. Bianca Belair needs to have a streak. But I thought streaks were bad. The people that are finding it super trendy to shit on The Undertaker these days have reliably informed me that streaks are burial machines that only hold talent down. Oh, but it's okay for Bianca Belair because, all right. This match was nonsense. And I'm not mad that they lost. I knew that they were going to lose going in. They went in there to be fucking punching bags, and it was gross. Sami Zayn defeated Gunther. And it was awesome, and they played on all your heartstrings, and it was just great. Walking down the tunnel, doing all the footage that they're doing, like up and down the tunnels and into the buildings that are very, very full buildings. Must be nice to look at both sides of the building and see crowd. But Sammy arriving with his wife, with his kid, and basically right before he goes through Gorilla, he comes face to face with Kevin Owens, who slaps some sense into him and said, basically, go get it. And the converse happened the next night when KO was getting ready for the triple threat, and Sami Zayn said, well, now it's your turn. Sami Zayn, absolutely fucking insane in this match. Pun kind of intended. But the match was great. Gunther bumped around for him, and Sami Zayn is one of the best guys in WWE at getting his ass kicked and getting you behind him. Gunther playing an almost cartoon villain for how much time he spent taunting Sami Zayn's wife. Absolutely wonderful. The brainbuster on the top turnbuckle. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be performative. I'm not going to pretend that I knew El Generico before Sami Zayn became Sami Zayn. I'm not. But I do know that he did a brainbuster on the turnbuckle. I do know that. Now, people from other companies that want to defend their own reckless behavior are trying to say that that was supposed to be a suplex and that Sami Zayn dropped him out of the suplex and that WWE is somehow unsafe. Please go outside. Please touch the grass. It won't hurt you, I promise. The fresh air, maybe some sunshine, probably looking a bit pasty. I shouldn't speak because I'm a little bit pasty myself. It's fine. You don't need to do it. Sami Zayn winning. Absolutely fucking wonderful. And then we go into the tag match. And this was a weird setup because the stipulations on the tag match were if The Rock and Roman win, then it's Bloodline rules on night 2. And everybody's fantasy booking for night 2 was based around it being Bloodline rules. Was based around it being no disqualification so that we could get every bell and whistle we possibly could in that. So that's what we wanted. But it meant that in night 1, you kind of had to cheer for the heels. The Rock had an amazing entrance, didn't set his name on fire, set his logo on fire. Roman Reigns coming out, Cody, Seth, Rock looking huge, Roman looking huge, Cody and Seth looking like the underdogs. Great match. I don't know what to say. Lots and lots of drama. When the loss finally happened, Cody Rhodes had it plastered all over his face. The whole "I am absolutely fucked tomorrow" night. Seth Rollins, and they said it right before they went off the air. I think it was must have been Pat McAfee that said, "Let's not forget Seth Rollins has got to face Drew McIntyre." And I'm like, there's the encapsulation. Cody has a title match. Seth has a title match. One is significantly more focused on than the other. Seth has foregone his own title match prep to help Cody on his road, on his vision to finish the story as it is. But it perfectly encapsulated, oh my god, Cody's so done tomorrow. Cody's so done tomorrow. It's going to be Bloodline rules. Oh yeah, Seth has a match tomorrow too. Cut to black. Cut to black. So we go into night 2. Drew and Seth. Drew's fresh as a daisy. Seth is already selling the wounds of war. We know he's been fighting wrestling injured. We know he's been wrestling hurt. He's had his ass kicked the night before by The Rock and Roman Reigns. They've had the shit whipped out of them and whatever. Drew McIntyre dragged him around, did the old Adam Nicholas chuck him around like an empty tracksuit thing, to the point where he went out to the audience and grabbed a phone from, I'm assuming, his wife, girlfriend, partner, whatever, and tweeted, "I'm bored at work." Love it. Love everything Drew's doing right now. They announced sometime in the midst of all this that Clash at the Castle this year is going to be in Scotland. Oh, but you don't know, Drew McIntyre might be going to... I don't think he's going to AEW. He's going to have a title shot in his home country and Clash at the Castle in another stadium full of fans. Let's go. But he goes and he goes and he goes, and CM Punk is on commentary. Fucking, as a tangent, before we get into CM Punk's actual involvement tonight, I'll say the same thing with Big E, because we got an update on Big E this week as well. He's living life, he's feeling good, he's not cleared, he doesn't know whether he's ever going to be cleared, but he's happy, he's healthy, he's pain-free, all that sort of thing. So, big good wishes and well wishes to Big E. If you can and if you want to, we'd love to see you back. But, much in the same way that they would do for Big E, if something ever happened to CM Punk, where he absolutely could not get cleared to wrestle anymore, you gotta believe WWE would throw a contract on his desk the next day to be a full-time commentator, because he's just that good at it. He's got... I don't know whether he's got a little bit of Corey Graves or Corey Graves has a little bit of CM Punk. It's probably that way around, but he's just really good on commentary, and he's got that way of being biased but still getting the guy that he's biased against over, which there's some actual commentators that can't do that, so it's all good. Third or fourth Claymore in the match gets the win for Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins is absolutely despondent. At the same time, you can see him breaking kayfabe as he goes up the ramp, congratulating Drew McIntyre, do with that belt what I did. You better carry on what I was doing and whatever. And he celebrates, and it's lasting really long and it's dragging, and they haven't cut to the next commercial or the next segment yet, and you're thinking, where are they going here? Finds his way back to CM Punk, throws it in his face. CM Punk's on commentary, like, not bothered. Like, why are you worried about me? Why aren't you celebrating? Like, you're being weird right now. Like, hey man, you did it. You know, good for you. I can't do it right now because I'm injured. Like, what do you want from my life? As soon as he poses on the desk in front of Punk, which, let's be real for a second. When you decide you're going to pose on the announcer's desk with your belt or whatever, you're basically throwing your crotch in the face of all the commentators. I know that's not the intended goal of it or whatever, but you are. As soon as he's not looking, Punk sweeps the leg, off comes the brace, he clotheslines him with the brace, kicks the shit out of him. After a well-fought match with Rollins as well, now he's had his ass kicked by the best in the world. And then the arena goes purple. And then, like, if you didn't know that Damian Priest was a face, Damian Priest is a fucking face. Here comes the briefcase. Here comes the cash-in. I'm cashing right now. Kicks the shit out of him, clocks him with the briefcase, tosses him in the rig. Huge South of Heaven chokeslam. Damian Priest is your new World Heavyweight Champion. So, what's the story here? What is the story here? Judgment Day lost the tag titles. They lost both sets of tag titles, which means they've lost the ability to go from show to show, in kayfabe terms anyways. But they, what they call themselves, like the Killer Kids or something like that. But in terms of Raw, in terms of kayfabe on Raw, the king and queen of Raw right now are Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. One step back, two steps forward for the Judgment Day. Really, really like that as a story. And they didn't even try to be cool or evil or anything. You saw them all at the top of the ramp, and they're just so genuinely happy. And in much the same way I was, because as I said with Miz, which is a slightly different situation, here's a guy who's like, yeah, he's pretty good, but he's really dumb because he hasn't cashed in the briefcase on this time and that time, and we're going to nitpick because we kind of want to poke holes at WWE. Here's the thing. There's a million times that Damian Priest could have cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase before WrestleMania. And here's the thing. If he had cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase before WrestleMania and won, he could have lost the title before WrestleMania. He could have cashed in the title, or cashed in the briefcase, and not even won the title. He could have cashed in the briefcase, carried the title to Mania, and dropped it. But what's better? What is better? Let me ask you honestly. If you're Damian Priest, and you got the briefcase, I've got a golden ticket, right? Right? What's better? Walking into WrestleMania as World Heavyweight Champion, or walking out of WrestleMania 40, the biggest WrestleMania, the biggest wrestling show in history, as the World Heavyweight Champion? Even Triple H said it in the press conference. Yeah, Damian Priest is smart. He proved you all wrong. Like, it's true. It is what it is. It was such a good adrenaline, I don't even know what to say. A big adrenaline burst to start night 2. Drew and Seth gave you a great match. Drew and CM Punk continued their story. Punk screwed over Drew. Damian cashed in. That all happened in basically, I don't want to say in one match, but that all happened in one segment. And also, Damian Priest cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase on the guy who won the belt in the opener of WrestleMania versus the guy who was the first guy to cash in his Money in the Bank in the main event at WrestleMania. So it is a nice long-term story. When Seth Rollins comes back, there's going to be a very interesting dynamic between Seth Rollins and Damian Priest, I think, because Seth Rollins has been in a group for a while now, a group of, like, you know, Cody's Avengers facing the Bloodline. There hasn't been a whole lot of direct Seth Rollins versus the Judgment Day, which is interesting considering the rivalry that Becky had with Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley, I know it's corny to do couple stuff, right? But I'm sorry, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch when they both come back is a hell of a mixed tag. And it's hard to get invested in a mixed tag. But all of this was awesome. This hit every beat. This reminded you that CM Punk was a thing. This gave Seth the send-off that he deserved. It gave Drew McIntyre his title win in front of fans, and it fed into his already existing, oh, everybody's out to get me, I always kind of get fucked over, character that he's been doing for a while now. Like, a heel who's kind of right is always very, very intriguing. He's not mad at Damian Priest for cashing in. He's mad at CM Punk for creating the situation where Damian Priest could cash in. So, going forward, when everybody's back, when everybody's healthy, you've got a Drew McIntyre and a CM Punk story over here, potentially a Damian Priest and a Seth Rollins story over here if we don't split the Judgment Day and get sort of a Priest versus Balor, which is something I would really like to see, because that match was awesome in NXT back in the day during COVID. Let's be real for a second. Or was it during COVID? It was just before COVID. Something like that. So that was just the opening match. Lashley and the Prophets defeated the Final Testament. Of course they did. It became less about the match and more about, once again, the feel-good local moment when it was announced that the special guest referee was going to be Bubba Ray Dudley. Now, here's once again where I would like to talk about the fans for a second that want desperately to shit on WWE's biggest weekend ever. Well, oh, Bubba Ray just goes on his podcast and shits on other companies, so of course he got a cool spot here. I guess it pays to be a shill. Well, let's see something for a second. It's a hardcore match. Bully Ray has a history of hardcore matches. I'm not sure if you're aware. It was in Philadelphia. Bully Ray's got a pretty decent tie to Philadelphia. It's the same weekend that Paul Heyman went into the Hall of Fame. Not sure if you know, Bully Ray has a pretty decent tie to Paul Heyman, ECW, such and such. You're all idiots. Like, fuck off. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You want to grasp at all these straws when you know there's every single reason for his involvement. His involvement made a million times more sense than random football player X that's shagging Taylor Swift being a luchador. It just did. It just did. And, I mean, the writing was on the wall. As soon as you got Bully Ray in there, who's a good guy, he's going to help the good guys. He put the glasses on and he could help people do table stuff. And the guys that needed to win this match, the Final Testament, did not win this match. Unfortunately, it was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. These six guys put on a more entertaining match than I thought they would. What they didn't do is what I said in the preview: is you got to give Cross and AOP something, because they're a group I want to get into, but WWE has yet to sort of give me a reason to get into them. They didn't achieve that, but what they did achieve on the night was a pretty fun, interesting match with a guest referee that made total sense, by the way. Moving on. LA Knight defeated AJ Styles. It is what it is. Got them both on the card. Made up for LA Knight not being on WrestleMania last year. Not much else to say. Logan Paul wins the three-way. Another YouTuber, streamer guy that I don't know was dressed as the Prime Bottle, and he got involved and he got RKO'd on the table. And then people went on to say, well, the RKO would have been better if he was still in the bottle suit. And I'm just like, what I didn't like about this, and it's nobody's fault, I mean, everybody's going on some kind of direction, is Logan Paul has the brass knuckles. And on commentary, you get the typical, like, Michael Cole's awesome, don't get me wrong. Michael Cole, incredibly underrated for what he's trying to accomplish in WWE at this point. But, oh, that dastardly bastard, he's got the brass knucks again. It's a triple threat match. There's no disqualifications in a triple threat match. Why do you care that he's got the brass knuckles? It's not going to kill the match for me, but just there's no disqualifications, there's no countouts, there's no rope breaks, there's no anything like that. Why wouldn't he bring a friend with him to ringside? Why wouldn't he bring the brass knuckle? Logan Paul's still awesome. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, contributed to making him look awesome. Logan Paul's still the champion. He's sitting there on social media telling all the fans to thank him for the most successful WrestleMania ever, which is exactly what you would do with his character. And then we get to the main event, and Cody defeated Roman Reigns. And the highest praise I can give WWE, and the highest praise that I can give Cody Rhodes is this. I'm not a Cody guy. I've always been very, very clear on that. I started having some fun with the Cody character when he was with Jey Uso for a bit, when they were doing drunk press conferences, and do you feel him, sir? That stuff was a lot of fun. Started coming around to Cody. Started enjoying Cody, but if you, like, at my highest point of, okay, maybe I don't dislike this guy, it's still a matter of put somebody that I like in there with him, and I'm still going to cheer for that guy. Put him in there with Rollins, I'm going to cheer Rollins. Put him in there with Balor, I'm going to cheer Balor. Put him in there with Logan Paul, I might get shot for this, but I'd probably cheer for Logan Paul. Not a Cody guy, but successfully, Cody Rhodes and WWE and everything that they produced, and the stories that they told, and The Rock told, and Roman Reigns told, and Seth Rollins told, and they told around the title and all that. It sounds very corny, but, like, I'm not a Cody guy, but tonight everybody's a Cody guy. And that's the highest praise. The match itself was great. They didn't go into the weapons and belts and all that right away. They graduated up to it quite well. The entrances, Cody Rhodes' entrance with the desert wasteland with all the Cody flags on it before we actually got to the entrance, and the huge pop from the crowd, and then the entire orchestra playing Roman Reigns to the ring. Like, as much as somebody would say to me, oh, you can't deny what Cody Rhodes is right now, you cannot deny what Roman Reigns has become. And it's not he's cool suddenly because they gave him a cool entrance. No, they gave him an entrance fitting of what he has done and become and contributed over the past, 1,316 days? Something like that. Entrances were awesome. It was just the two of them. The chemistry between the two of them was great. It got to, okay, there's Jimmy. Where's Jay? Jay comes down the rampway. Jimmy sneaks into the ring. Jay gets an entrance so that the crowd can do the hand thing one more time. I'm doing the hand thing again. I know, audio platform. I'm not a good person. They fight on the rampway. They take a huge bump off the stageway, to the point where everybody momentarily that I saw on social media was sort of like, all right, the match is still going on, but I really hope those guys are okay. I really do, because because the stage was quite elevated, and the bump they took was clearly effective, because there was a lot of messages asking if they were okay. In comes Solo Sikoa, and from there we were off to the races. In comes Solo, in comes John Cena. John Cena gets rid of Solo. Out comes the final boss, and all the electricity and the way the Rock's entrance goes from his new entrance to his old entrance, and they have the huge standoff. Big Rock Bottom gets rid of John Cena, and then the lights went out, and the Undertaker chokeslammed the Rock, and there's all this big conspiracy, this big hoofra, but it should have been Austin. Well, it wasn't Austin. Like, what do you want? All Austin can do is offer, and WWE says no, or all WWE can do is offer, and Austin can say no. It is what it is. But it's the Undertaker. Undertaker chokeslams him, and I'm sorry, like, you want to call yourself the final boss, and that's what you are in the context of the bloodline. And don't get me wrong, everything The Rock has done to this point, I'm a Rock guy. The Rock is brilliant. The Rock naming himself the final boss. If it's WrestleMania, I don't care. I don't care if you don't like Mark Calloway. I don't care if you weirdly don't like the fact that he supports police, because you're strange and you want criminals to do things. I don't care about any of that. In the lore of WWE, and WrestleMania specifically, The Undertaker is the final boss. That's it. That's all. There's no further statement from that. And what do? Dong. Lights come up. Choke slam. Dong. He's gone again. So if you don't like him, you had to see him on your TV screen for about 5 seconds. And by the way, fuck off. Best part of all of this is the Shield music hit. Seth Rollins comes in immediately, gets waylaid out with a chair by somebody. The camera cut wasn't great, I'll be honest. But then Roman sees Seth Rollins, and flashbacks of 10 years ago and the Seth Rollins betrayal of the Shield, turns his attention from Cody Rhodes to Seth Rollins to hit hit Seth Rollins with a chair one more time to get that catharsis out. And this was backed up by Paul Heyman on SmackDown this week. So let's not just say that, old Spaz has got another conspiracy theory. Well, that's the story they're telling you. So get over it. The fact that his never being able to get over Seth Rollins, and remember, Seth Rollins challenged Roman Reigns at one of the Royal Rumbles for the title that was being contested tonight, and he didn't win. He didn't beat him. So it's still there. The fact that, we call Seth Rollins the Shield, but in this case, the fact that Seth Rollins was the chink in the armor is kind of beautiful. Like, I know that's a weird thing to say, but it's kind of beautiful, and it's a storyline beat that I didn't know that they were going to do or not. Now, he went back to the back to cue up the Shield music. He went back and changed into Shield gear. He went back and dyed his hair. Very, very weird storyline things that Seth Rollins did. But we don't need to worry about that right now. Crossroads. Struggle to your feet to hit one more Crossroads. Cody Rhodes is your new champion. Crowd goes nuts. Everybody's in the ring. And it's like, I'm going to get my WrestleManias wrong. But the WrestleMania that Bret Hart won. And everybody flooded the ring and lifted him up on the shoulders, etc. I'm not a historian. I've never claimed to be a historian. But all of Cody's Avengers there with him. I mean, LA Knight was out there randomly. But, Randy Orton was out there. Seth, Sammy, KO, Jay. Big moment. He actually cut a promo after the match. He asked Bruce Pritchard and Triple H to come down. That was kind of cool. That wound people up because people, it's kind of trendy to hate Triple H now, which is also weird. Triple H putting him over, raising his hand, all that kind of thing. He brought his mom into the ring, handed her the belt like he said he was going to because he couldn't hand it to his dad. That story beat has always been a thing. And it's funny because he mentioned her in a promo, I think it was on SmackDown. He says his mom doesn't even like being on TV, but he brought her into the ring and handed her the belt and whatnot. And it was great. It was absolutely great. Triple H put him over in the press conference as the guy who's going to usher in this new era. There was a whole lot. Triple H came out to do the night one, "Are you ready?" and all this kind of, "Welcome to WrestleMania." Stephanie McMahon opened up night 2, I should say, and she gave all the credit to Triple H, and she did her own version of the "Are you ready?" Which was kind of cool. So I guess she's back in the fold. All kinds of really cool stuff. Triple H putting over basically everybody. Triple H put over Damian Priest for being smarter than the fans thought he was, and I thought that was a nice touch as well. Went over all the numbers and how successful they were. But the one thing that I will say, and yes, it's partially like overdone for drama purposes, but there's a video going around right now of Seth Rollins outside the ring, and Cody's music is playing, so the match is already over, and it's Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso all checking on him. Everybody's crying. Everybody's, emotionally whatever. But they're helping him to his feet so he can get up and see what we saw, which is him shaking Cody Rhodes' hand at the end of the match. But they're literally helping him to his feet. And whether that's real or whether that's the final story beat, it's kind of beautiful. Again, like, not all these guys are friends, but they got together for the common enemy, the common good, the Avengers metaphor that's been used all the way leading up to WrestleMania. Like, it's really, really cool. Because if you want to take it as, we know Seth Rollins has been fighting injured for a couple of months now, we know that he's been fighting on two fronts. He's been fighting the Bloodline, and he's been fighting Drew McIntyre, and he's worried about his title, and he's worried about his old rival Roman Reigns, and he's worried about helping his buddy Cody Rhodes. He got his ass kicked in the tag match while he was already injured. He walked into night 2, got his ass kicked again, and lost his belt. So you have to believe the last bit of anything that he has in his body, in his soul, was used to try and shield Cody Rhodes. And then he fell away. He finally did the I am Iron Man, snap, dust him away. And so to see everybody gathering around him to get him back to his feet was just an awesome thing that I wish they had caught while all this was going on. But a great end to WrestleMania. But there's going to be a bit of a cut here because the second half of this is going to be what's happened since WrestleMania. So hold on one second. And we're back. Let's talk about everything that happened after WrestleMania, because didn't know what to expect from this year's Raw after Mania, SmackDown after Mania, because we already got a bunch of new stuff before WrestleMania. Like something like the debut of Jade Cargill that happened at the Royal Rumble would have been something that they would have saved till after WrestleMania. The return of Naomi at the Rumble would have been something that they would do after Mania. The return of Andrade, the call-up of Tiffany Stratton, the call-up of Braun Breaker. These are all things that in another regime would have all been saved for the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania. So I didn't know what to really expect from this year. I thought it would just be okay, these people that you already like, let's put some fire behind them. Let's put some other things behind them. But we got interesting stories. Interesting stories for sure coming out of this week, and I'm all scattershot, so some of these are dirt sheet things, and some of these are news things, and some of these are things that happened on Raw and SmackDown, and some of these are other news bits that happened while WrestleMania was going on. So, first one, not really a huge thing. Wrestling is going back to being wrestling. They're trying to get rid of some of the Vince McMahon language. It's not a title shot, it's a championship opportunity. And the big thing is, it's not sports entertainment, it's wrestling. Okay? So you're not doing anything, you're just letting people speak normally, which shouldn't be a big thing, but it is. It's not an ambulance, it's a local medical facility vehicle, and all the stuff that Simon Miller would make fun of in his reviews that are much better and much more produced than mine are. But to actually see it, to actually have it confirmed that we're pulling away from some of that weird stuff. The other one is there is a move in the back to talk to more other companies, doing some more, not necessarily talent swapping, but just working with other companies. And I'm going to do a longer form pod on this at some point, but just this year alone, obviously the big one, and the one that I thought was really cool, was Jordynne Grace, current TNA Knockouts champion, showing up in the Royal Rumble, which was preceded a couple years ago by Mickie James doing it when she was the Impact Women's Champion as well. But we know that Charlie Dempsey went to All Japan. Charlie Dempsey and Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler and some other people all took part in Josh Barnett's Bloodsport over the weekend. Shinsuke Nakamura was part of the Great Muda's farewell tour. And there's just more of that. And I really want this to lead to some more crossover with TNA, because I think just do some, I don't know, if you want to do some big guy stuff, do Moose versus Braun Strowman. If you want to do some technical stuff, get a Josh Alexander versus a Chad Gable. I need that Jordynne Grace Rhea Ripley match in my life. Please don't waste it on Bianca Belair. Please don't waste it on Bianca Belair. But in general, I'm saying this from a biased point of view because I also watch TNA. You guys are going to get my my preview for their next show in the next couple of days. But please do this. Please do this, and please put an end to the stereotype that WWE doesn't do this, because there is a grand history of them doing it. So let's make that more of a thing. The next, of course, is what I didn't talk about during the NXT takeover. Sorry, during the NXT Stand and Deliver show. Two big pieces of news coming out of that. One is that we are getting a new mid-card women's championship, more specifically the NXT Women's North American Championship. There's more information on that coming soon, I'm sure. I think it's awesome. I think if you're going to introduce a mid-card women's title, doing it in NXT first makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of women in NXT that could do with something to strive for that aren't necessarily in that main event title picture yet. The other one is Julia coming to NXT and being sat in the crowd with William Regal, with the Rossi dude, and I'm still not 100% knowledgeable on who he is, but apparently a lot of people are really wound up about it. Immediately, the fans of other companies let me know what a big deal she was, because as soon as it was announced that she was part of NXT, oh well, whatever, she's not that good anyway, people came out of the woodwork, and we know what they're like. I don't know much about her. I'm excited to see what she does, what she's like, and all those sorts of things. Apparently she's also helping the Rossi guy with something that he's doing. So if she's splitting her time, then once again you get into that whole argument of WWE has a clamp down on their talent. But do they really? We're getting a draft at the end of April. There we go. Here's what I predict. SmackDown drafts all of Judgment Day, which means they take both main titles, both world titles, to SmackDown in one go. And in response, Pierce drafts... I don't know. Sorry. No. How does that work? Pierce drafts Cody to stay on Raw and drafts Bayley to Raw. Two moves. You've moved both your championships. The reason I say that is people are like, oh, well, we'll just split up the Judgment Day by having Priest moved as a solo talent. No. Move Judgment Day as a group to SmackDown. Keep Cody on Raw and move Bayley to Raw, because they're going to want Cody on Raw when WWE goes to, when Raw goes to Netflix. That's a plain, dry, not very exciting answer, but it does make sense. Have the entire dissolution of the bloodline and whoever's going to fight whoever, whether it's like JD and Finn versus Dom and Priest with Rhea in their corner, whether it's just Finn versus Priest, whether Priest just leaves the group and takes on all of them, have that entire story take place on SmackDown, because SmackDown's already the A show, but like, you're denying yourself a story if you split them up with a draft. Move them over so that Aldis can have both of the world champions, and then Pierce can have both of the WWE champions, and then it's nice and clean for the people that are like, oh my god, these titles are so confusing, but they're not really. I don't know what to tell you. That's my prediction for that, and everybody else is just going to kind of go scattershot, I suppose. Should say, throughout all of WrestleMania and Raw, a bunch of people got new music. Stephanie got a new version of her music. I never liked her old music. I thought it was really cocky sounding. Now it's a little bit more, it's not rock and roll, but it's got a little bit more of a rocky edge to it. Yes, she's clearly influenced by Triple H, who likes all the rock, and people don't like Triple H for liking the rock. I don't know. AJ Styles got new music, new creepy, dark, bad guy, look at how tough I am music. Bayley, okay. Let's talk about the Bayley thing for a second, because everybody thought, and I was like, no, don't go that far backwards. Everybody thought that she was going to get her old NXT music, that she was going to get the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men, the Bayley buddies, and that didn't happen. She had this really cool, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like Egyptian queen type entrance, but it turns out that music that she had for that entrance is just her new music. I like it. It's really different. I really like it a lot. Damian Priest has another version of another rocky type. I don't know if it's still done by Alter Bridge. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you. But Yeah, music is always a really big conversation in WWE right now. I said it on Twitter, I'll say it here as well. It's not that WWE has only shit music. It's that there's no middle ground. If you line up the entrances in WWE, there's a handful of people that have awesome entrances, and then a collection of people that have shit entrances, and there's no in between. There's absolutely no in between, and it makes it more stark when you hear somebody come out to like generic Rock 5, and then like Cody Rhodes comes out to Kingdom. Now the rumor was going into WrestleMania that Downstate had recorded a new altered version of Kingdom, and I don't think that was ever applied, and if it was, it wasn't different enough for me to notice. I mean, always people are gonna say that Drew McIntyre needs to go back to Broken Dreams. He did that a little bit for Clash at the Castle last time, and then it cut into his new theme, so I really don't know what people want. I really don't. Ilya Dragunov was on Raw, which is nice, took on Shinsuke Nakamura. Roxanne Perez was on Raw, she took on Indy Hartwell. Really cool to see both of the champions represent. People are like, oh, these are call-ups. Why did they beat Tony D'Angelo and Lyra Valkyria if they're going to come up on Raw the next night? I don't think this is a call-up. I think this is part of that. It's still WrestleMania season. Everybody's still here. Let's do some fun stuff. John Cena showed up on Raw to be Awesome Truth's partner against the Judgment Day. So, like, it's one of those, like, everybody's still kicking around, let's do some fun stuff type of things. Now, that being said, if you follow the dirt sheets, probably the two most definite people being called up to the main roster are Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov, which means, I'm assuming, Ilya Dragunov is going to drop the title at Spring Break-In when he takes on Trick Williams again. There's a really cool setup for Ilya Dragunov for the next 2 weeks. This week coming up, Trick has a cage match with Carmelo Hayes because they need to finally like settle their nonsense or whatever. And in 2 weeks, Ilya Dragunov said he'd give him another shot at the NXT Championship, but if he loses, basically it's loser leaves NXT. So I think you're going to see a new champion in Trick Williams in 2 weeks, and Ilya Dragunov's going to go to the main roster. Ilya Dragunov is going to go after Gunther, isn't he? Like, we saw what they could do in NXT UK, and that was in front of nobody, and it was still praised as one of the best matches that year, so that says something. Roxanne Perez is still a maybe, according to the dirt sheets. If she comes up, awesome. If she stays down there for a little bit more, awesome. If she stays down there, I wouldn't mind them bringing up Lyra Valkyria. Either continue her rivalry with Tiffany Stratton, continue her respectful rivalry with Becky Lynch when Becky Lynch comes back from injury. There's a lot you could do there, and there's a lot of ladies down in NXT that need to go up to that next level, looking specifically at people like Kalani Jordan and Fallon Henley. I already mentioned it, but Jade Cargill had her Raw debut match against Chelsea Green and squashed her, and then she came out on SmackDown and defeated Chelsea Green and Piper Niven along with Bianca Belair, because of course she did. But it was cool. It was the first, on Raw I should say, it was the first time that it's been Cargill in a one-on-one match. We've seen her at the Royal Rumble, we've seen her run in during promos and whatever, and we've seen her in a 3-person tag and a 2-person tag. Cargill took on Chelsea Green and kicked her ass in like 30 seconds because, well, yeah. The thing about that is people want her to be presented like a monster, and then when she gets presented as a monster, the complaint then becomes, oh my god, they only gave Chelsea Green 30 seconds, they only gave Jade Cargill 30 seconds, how is she supposed to be a star? It's like, well, she just killed somebody. So, I don't know what you want me to say about that. What I like is Rhea Ripley celebrating beating Becky Lynch, celebrating with the Judgment Day, talking about how they all rule things and whatever, and then out of nowhere getting clocked in the head with a flying chair by Liv Morgan, like, remember me, bitch. So apparently they're going to fight this coming Monday on Raw, but that's going to go to a no contest, and that's probably going to go to France, which is awesome. They did a number 1 contenders, Fatal 4-Way on Raw. It was Jey Uso, it was Ricochet, it was Bronson Reed, and it was Drew McIntyre. Now, Bronson Reed won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Jay beat his brother. Ricochet? And then you could say Drew McIntyre won at WrestleMania, but he also lost, so... I mean, technically, I guess Drew McIntyre would already have a rematch, because he would have a rematch clause against Damian Priest, but I don't know. It's awesome that CM Punk hiding under the ring, grabs Drew's foot, and costs him a win. Not only a win, but a win for Jey Uso, who Drew McIntyre also hates. It's, oh my god, I love everything Punk and Drew are doing right now. It's like, yeah, I'm going to cost you, and somebody else is going to cash in on you, and I'm going to cost you again, and it's going to be against the other guy that you hate almost as much as me. Bottom line, Jey Uso is the #1 contender. Now, I don't know whether that's going to France or whether that's happening next week. I haven't looked at the graphics for this week yet, but it is what it is. Javon Evans debuted on NXT. I really like him. I think he's got a pretty cool, pretty energetic Wes Lee kind of vibe to him. I mean, if you told me that him and Wes Lee were a tag team in another company, I'd believe you, because seems like a fun guy. I mean, first match on the main NXT. Apparently he's been on Level Up, but let's be real. Level Up is kind of like Dark. Nobody really watches it. Can we be honest for a second? I liked what I saw. I hate saying kid, but, you know, whatever word works instead of kid for when I say I like what I saw in the kid. He made more news the rest of the weekend because some idiot with a podcast was like, he looks like a slave, and then he looks like a house N-word, and I'm like, oh, this is why... If I'm considered a content creator at this point, because I'm just rambling to you guys, this is why people don't look at us very well. I mean, that's kind of gross, but the funny thing about it is this has sort of galvanized the wrestling community and the Twitter/X community and the content creator community and all the other wrestlers behind Javon Evans. So he's had one match on NXT and suddenly he's the most supported guy in WWE. That's only going to work out in his favor. It's just kind of funny. But nothing to be scoffed at. You, like, if there's the Raw after Mania and the SmackDown after Mania, then there's the NXT after Stand and Deliver. Like, that has to be a thing as well. Apparently, Josh Briggs suffered 2 cracked ribs from the Stand and Deliver triple threat, and I wouldn't doubt it, because those 3 very large gentlemen beat the shit out of each other, and it was a lot of fun. Axiom and Frazier wasn't done in the best way, but they basically went to Ava and begged for a rematch. It's like, well, we didn't win, but we came close. That's what losing is. I like Axiom and Frazier, don't get me wrong. They had a match against the Wolf Dogs, and they won. They are the new tag team champions. They're a really fun team. They're a really fun team to carry those belts for a while and have some high-flying matches with some other people. Kind of a swan song for the Wolf Dogs. Like I say, part of me really wants them to just come up to the main roster as a team. But if Braun Breaker's coming up as a solo guy, because Braun Breaker was back on SmackDown this week and he kicked the shit out of Cameron Grimes for a couple minutes, then I don't know where that leaves Baron Corbin, and I think that's a waste. I think that's a waste of how well they've presented him since he's been back on NXT and sort of refound himself, became a bigger asshole, got together with Braun Breaker, who was also being an asshole, and that somehow made them a babyface team. I fucking love wrestling sometimes, but with the good that they did with the big stupid jock energy that I talked about and then me and Jake talked about collectively on the state of wrestling, if Braun Breaker goes up as a solo and Baron Corbin gets lost in the weeds again, I think that's a huge waste of a lot of effort by a lot of people. The bigger story is that Axiom and Nathan Frazier didn't get to celebrate very long because they were blindsided after the match by the Final Testament, Karrion Kross and Authors of Pain. Which is weird because they're bad guys and they're beating up the good guys, but also they got a surprise pop and they got a welcome back chant. So that doesn't bode too well for Axiom and Frazier if they're going to put AOP down in NXT for a little bit, or even draft. I've heard rumors that they're going to draft the entire Final Testament to NXT, which I don't want to say this because I'm an NXT guy. I like NXT and I like where they're going, but you can't not see that as a demotion. Like, you didn't... It's different than Becky Lynch going down there and winning a championship, because she's established on the main roster, like, main event WrestleMania talent, who's going back to NXT to work with NXT. If Final Testament gets sent to NXT, it's like, okay, we tried you on the main roster and you didn't work. Let's try you here. And that's a bit rough. I'm not going to lie. As I say, Trick Williams came out to celebrate his win against Mello and to thank the fans and to thank everybody. He even puts Mello over because he just said, like, hey, you know, the guy's being a dick and I had to shut him up a little bit, but he's right, I wouldn't be here without him. So he's doing the respectful victory speech. It's almost political in nature, but I don't want to say that because that has other connotations. He calls out Ilya Dragunov. He wants another title shot. Ilya says no because you've had your chances and you didn't succeed in your chances, etc. And then he flips and he agrees and he says at Spring Breakin', well, the way he put it was, if you don't beat me, you're gone from NXT, which I don't think is happening. I think they're going to smooth over that verbiage with it's a winner takes the belt, loser leaves NXT, because Trick's going to be the champion and Ilya's going to go to the main roster, and that's absolutely fine. Moving parts are fine. After that promo was over, however, he was attacked by Mello, took him out at the knee again, and then as they were going off the air, he says, I'll see you next week in a steel cage. So Trick Williams has a stand and deliver rematch with Mello in a cage this week, and then in 2 weeks at Spring Breakin', he's probably becoming the NXT champion. Let's be real for a second. SmackDown. Actually, I don't want to talk about SmackDown just yet. So right now, we've got Trick Williams going for the NXT Championship, Jey Uso going for the World Heavyweight Championship, and either LA Knight or AJ Styles going for the WWE Championship. LA Knight and AJ Styles both won triple threat matches this week on SmackDown. I mean, it's going to be AJ Styles, isn't it? I mean, Cody Rhodes and LA Knight are two of the most popular people you can have on SmackDown if you want to consider Cody a SmackDown guy. I think we do consider Cody a SmackDown guy, considering it was all SmackDown roster guys fighting for a chance to fight him, but you don't want to split the crowd between Cody and LA Knight, because one of them is going to lose and one of them is going to lose hard, and I don't want either of them to lose hard right now. Plus, let's be real, AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes is going to be a great first contender. You come off of a WrestleMania win, you got to pick somebody who can easily take a loss and still make the champion look good. That's AJ Styles. Does that make him a bit of a Ziggler? Yes, but AJ Styles, if they're doing it in France, we're getting AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes. We're getting Jey Uso versus Damian Priest. We're getting Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. That's already looking like a hell of a card. It already is looking like a hell of a card. Another dirt sheet thing. They're cutting down on production, which sounds bad, but what it means is they're getting rid of the CGI, artificial, augmented reality things that never, ever, ever looked good. They're bringing in smaller stages so that they can use less production staff and less production trucks, which is, I mean, it's not the reality that I would use, but hey, if we're using less trucks, we're better for the environment, blah, 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 blah. The reality is, you get people used to that small screen, and you get people used to getting more people in the building. I'm not going to lie. SmackDown before Mania, Raw after Mania, Stand and Deliver, that little tunnel that they had with no Tron at all looks fucking awesome. I wish they would just do that. I said a couple weeks ago when they did the small screen flex, I said they should just do it one day where everybody just comes through the crowd so there's no Tron at all. The next best thing was what we had for SmackDown, what we had for Stand and Deliver. what we had for the Raw After Mania. The Raw After Mania apparently had 22,000 people in there, which is 22 times as many as some other people are getting, but we don't need to go there today. Now, the rumor is this is going to tie into pyro, and we're going to get into the whole pyro conversation again. They're still using pyro. They're still going to use pyro. Come on, let's be real for a second. They're going to have the smaller stage, which is going to make the pyro look bigger, which is going to make the crowd look bigger, which is going to make... You put a smaller stage behind somebody, and that person looks bigger by comparison. A lot of people, and this is me being really specific here now, a lot of guys that are big dudes get dwarfed by that big, giant LED screen that they use all the time. So a smaller stage, put the focus and the new camera work, the new film work on the star rather than the LED. Now, if you want to talk about production, I will still say the LED guardrail, the LED ring posts, the LED ring apron. Get rid of that shit. Get rid of that. Keep the pyro, do a smaller screen, do a slightly simpler production, but still huge, and just keep bragging about selling out arenas. Just keep breaking records because you had to tear down your screen to fit more people in the building. That is the biggest, like, there's nothing quite like saying we had to rebuild our stage because so many people bought tickets. And like I say, let me know what you guys think down in the box below. The small screen looks nice. The small screen is more reminiscent of what they've been using for the NXT shows. The absolutely no screen and just a tunnel looks fucking awesome. They're walking through the tunnel. There's LEDs on both sides. That's kind of a cool look as well. But just do no Tron. Just do no Tron. Keep the pyro. Yes, wrestling fans want pyro. Keep the pyro. Get some of these guys some better music. No Tron. Give me a tunnel. Get rid of the LED shit around the ring. Yes, I know it's easy for advertising and whatever, but it's all good. The last thing I want to touch on, and it wound everybody up, and it got the, oh, well, he was never really that good anyway. Tama Tonga showed up in WWE. Tama Tonga showed up and said, hey, Triple H, I'm willing to put in a grind. Yes, everybody's new favorite word is grind now. I like it. Yes, Triple H is the guy running the company. Hey, boss, I want to work less and you should pay me more is not a selling point to the guy that wants to run the company. Anyways, so, Roman's gone. Rock is gone. Paul Heyman comes out with Solo Sikoa and Jey Uso talking about how... Sorry, Paul Heyman comes out first talking about how losses have consequences and how Roman took his eye off the ball because of Seth Rollins, telling the old Shield story, which is awesome. Solo stops him, and he just says to Paul Heyman, like, do losses have consequences? And he turns his attention to Jimmy Uso, who lost to his brother on the weekend. And he goes and he gives him a big hug. He says, I love you. It's very creepy and very ominous. And then he's beaten down by somebody in a hoodie, and the hoodie comes off, and that person ends up being Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa beat the absolute shit out of Jimmy Uso, including putting his head in a chair for a hip attack, for a Pillmanizing hip attack. When Paul Heyman goes to call Roman Reigns, Solo grabs the phone and stomps on the phone and tells him that these are the orders of the tribal chief. Now, there's two stories that could be happening here right now, and I kind of love both of them. Is it, because there's also the rumor that Jacob Fatu, who I'm not... I should say, first of all, I am not familiar with Tama Tonga. Not a New Japan guy, never claimed to be a New Japan guy, never claimed to have knowledge of New Japan. But I know that he's a big enough guy that enough people in my social media circles are talking about him. I know that at various points there were rumors that AEW was trying to get him. Now, I don't know whether those are true or not. Don't shoot the messenger. But I know that there's enough interest in the guy that where he goes was important. To me, personally, here's a new guy. Solo brought in a new guy. That's the story. It's like anybody who didn't watch NXT when Solo Sikoa showed up. It's like, oh, Roman Reigns has brought in another guy. Let's see what he can do. That's the difference to other companies that bring out some, Joe Schmo in knee pads and kick pads and tights and says, hey, it's Jack Smith. Why aren't you fucking excited about Jack Smith? Don't you do your homework? Can't you Google it, man? That's the difference. If you know who he is, awesome. If you don't know who he is, here's some backup that Solo Sikoa just brought in to beat the shit out of his cousin. Story starts from there. That's the difference. First of all, that is the difference. So no, I don't know a lot about Tama Tonga, but what I know about Tama Tonga, storyline-wise, is, hey, here's somebody that Solo thinks is badass enough that he brought him in under his wing type of thing. Now, same thing goes for Jacob Fatu. Don't know a thing about Jacob Fatu either, but apparently he's signed to WWE, and he's going to be involved in all this. So, either Solo Sikoa has taken over the bloodline, and him and Tama Tonga are going to be such assholes that they reunite the Usos, and they're going to have a tag match. Or, when Roman comes back, you're going to bring in Jacob Fatu, and you're going to have a trios match. Fine. Even better, even more awesome. You got two brand new guys to the company, why not put them with the biggest name in the company? All due respect to Cody Rhodes and his accomplishment, and everybody's behind him right now, and it's awesome. But Roman Reigns coming off of 1,316 days as champion is still the biggest guy in the WWE right now. Put the two brand new guys in the ring with this guy that's got this monstrous accomplishment. Reunite Roman Reigns and the Usos as babyfaces against, I don't know whether you want to, like, the new bloodline in a trios match. Even more awesome. You take this new version, this new tribal chief version of Roman Reigns, and see if we can do a babyface version of it, because we know we can get a babyface version of the Usos. Solo Sikoa has never been a babyface. Never been a babyface, so him staying heel is fine. Tama Tonga just arrived in the company, so he is whatever you decide he is. Jacob Fatu, if he's coming to the main roster to get involved in this, he is whatever you decide he is as well. Or Solo Sikoa is not referring to himself when he says by orders of the tribal chief, and he is in fact referring to The Rock. Now, that leads to a 3-on-4 match, does it not? If there's one other person that you could reunite with the old bloodline, now that they are babyfaces, one more person willing to support people that used to be bad if they are now on a redemption arc, you reach across the aisle, you grab Sami Zayn. You have The Rock, Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, and Solo Sikoa versus Roman, Jimmy, Jay, and Sammy. And what do you have? What do you have towards the end of the year? You got this nice, neat, nifty little match called War Games. Instead of the bloodline, you have blood warfare in War Games. Any of these are possible. Any of these are possible. You get Jimmy versus Tama Tonga. You get Jimmy and Jay versus Tama Tonga and Solo. You get Jimmy, Jay, and Roman versus Solo, Tonga, and Jacob Fatu. Or you throw in The Rock and Sami Zayn and you have a blood war at War Games. All of this is fucking awesome. Every single bit of it is fucking awesome. And yes, we had them crawling out once again. As soon as he shows up on WWE programming, we don't want him. He was never that good anyway. Magically, all of a sudden, isn't that convenient? Isn't that a coincidence, actually? So, what's the landscape of WWE right now? I mean, you choose the landscape of WWE by who your champions are. In NXT, you've got a yet-to-be-crowned women's North American champion. You got Charlie Dempsey and the rest of the no-quarter catch crew, other than Drew Gulak, who got fucked over by Ronda Rousey, collectively holding the NXT Heritage Cup, because they defend it under catch rules, which is kind of like Freebird rules. It's kind of like New Day rules, except it's not. You got Frazier and Axiom as your new tag team champions. They're going to be dealing with Authors of Pain. Obafemi is still your North American champion. He's going to be dealing with whoever's suicidal enough to try and deal with him. You got Roxanne Perez, who's going to be challenged by a plethora of people, I'm sure. You got Ilya Dragunov, whose next challenge is Trick Williams in a Loser Leaves NXT match. You've got the Kabuki Warriors Warriors, who have a lot of work to do after getting absolutely squashed for political reasons at WrestleMania. You've got the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions in Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, who are going to wind everybody up. It's going to be awesome. You got the Awesome Truth on Raw holding the Raw tag titles. I don't think that's going to be for very long. I think it's going to go to somebody like DIY. Logan Paul still kicking ass as your United States champion and being arrogant as hell. Sami Zayn, the other big victory story of WrestleMania weekend. He's the Intercontinental Champion, and he's riding high off of dethroning the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion ever. I said it was Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn needs to call himself the record breaker, because last year him and Kevin Owens won the titles off of the longest reigning tag team champions. Now he's won the Intercontinental Championship off of the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. They need to do something with him like he's the record breaker. Bayley finished her business with Damage Control, defeated Io Sky. She's basically handing a title defense to Naomi, which is weird. Rhea Ripley still kicking ass a year later with the World Women's Championship. Damian Priest, with one of the coolest moments of the weekend, picked up the men's World Heavyweight Championship. And Cody Rhodes, if you look at WWE.com, is listed twice as both the Universal Champion and WWE Champion. Even though they're taking Universal out of the name of the title, and I think they're just calling him the undisputed WWE Champion, which is not necessary, but I think it's kind of cool that they've given it some parity, because you look at Bayley's belt, it says Undisputed Women's Championship. Now, both of those titles are disputed, don't get me wrong. If Cody Rhodes is the undisputed world champion, then I think Damian Priest has something to say about that. If Bayley is the undisputed champion, then I think Rhea Ripley has something to say about that. But I think if they're going to use that verbiage, the fact that they made sure to use it for both the men's and the women's championship is kind of cool. So, Cody, Damian, Rhea, Bayley, Sammy, Logan, Awesome Truth, A-Town Down Under, Kabuki Warriors, Dragunov, Roxanne, Obafemi, Nathan Frazier, Axiom, and Charlie Dempsey and company. And, like I said, a Women's North American Championship yet to be decided. I think we're in pretty good hands. I think I've properly encapsulated WrestleMania and all the nonsense going on around it. I don't know what else there is to say other than I'm losing my voice. I'm really glad I had a day off to do this, because I haven't had time to do anything. Haven't talked to you guys since the middle of WrestleMania weekend itself. So, hope you're doing well. Hope you made it this far. If you made it this far, I don't know, put pineapple in the comment section down below. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.